Hello, everyone. Today we are going to be talking about a couple of the more advanced features in Microsoft Project. Primarily, our webinar today is going to focus on the different custom fields, the different options for setting them up, how you can use them based on your views and filters, and then we'll look at a couple of formulas and how to set some key performance indicators for your information. My name is Amanda Kuhlman. I'm the operations manager here at Intogen, and I have been here for actually just about 7 years now. I have many certifications in Microsoft products, Microsoft Project 2013, 2016, managing projects and portfolios with Microsoft PPM, and managing SharePoint 2016. And I use Microsoft Project every day internally. We use it to manage our own individual projects. And so I am very hands-on with projects and also Project Online if your organization uses that. And I have encountered a lot of probably what you're encountering if you're having any pain points or any issues in navigating. So today is our last webinar in the Project Essentials series that we have been hosting. All of our previous webinars are on our website. They are free to view, so you can go, you can look at them as many times as you'd like. And in the coming year, we're going to have a couple of more webinars set up. We may restart this series, and we're going to be scheduling our next set of webinars here in the next week or so. For our webinar today, we're going to start with just a little bit about us, about Intogen, and then we're going to look at some of the more advanced options. We're going to look at how to set up custom fields, both tasks and resources. We're going to talk about the two most common DAX formulas, the switch formula and the if formula. And then we're going to look at how to roll your custom fields and your formulas into key performance indicators that you can use for that quick glance at what's going on in your project. Is your schedule green? Is your cost red? And then we're going to look at the organizer and what does that mean? And especially if you're sharing project schedules or project files back and forth, why the organizer may be something that you'd like to know. That way you can all have the same information just by sharing a file from person to person. So Intogen, we are a consulting firm that provides expert services in Microsoft Project, SharePoint, Project Online, Project Server, and we are expanding into SharePoint and Dynamics. We help individuals and organizations both manage their PMO processes and how to build their PMO processes. Using Microsoft Project as the project management tool is a big part of that, but we have helped organizations build, improve, map their processes, all of that within the Microsoft Project platform. We are Microsoft Gold Partner certified, which means that several of our staff members have taken exams that have certified us to become a Gold Partner, which is the highest level of partner level that Microsoft recognizes. And we are also a part of the Project Management Institute, and a lot of our full day, 2-day classes do offer PDUs for anybody who is a member of that as well. So to jump right into our webinar, we are going to start talking about our custom fields. So defining the custom fields allows you a way to break the metrics into specific pieces for you. Microsoft Project has a lot of information in it. It has the work, duration, everything real task-based and real general. It's just a matter of how you want to use it. And that's something that's determined at an organization level. Are you more interested in the duration of your task? What is the amount of time, the physical time it's going to take? Or are you more interested in the work? How long is it going to take for my users and my resources to do the work at hand? Is it going to take them 8 hours? Is that what I'm interested in? Or knowing that 8 hours is going to be spread over 2 weeks duration? So all of that is the project schedule that we have been working on in all of our previous webinars. Everything that's very innate to the tool, everything, it's just a matter of how to use it and what is most important to you. Today is going to be putting your own flair on your project schedules. We're going to be creating several new custom fields together, and I'll show you how to use those and how to create new filters and views accordingly. So the screenshot here is how you can create new custom fields. You can see there is a radio button for task and resources that it's enabled. The project one is disabled unless you are connected to a project server or a project online environment. And then there's a type over there, and there are several types of custom fields that you can do. There's a flag field, a cost field, a date field. And then you have a good number of options there to choose from. So you can really fill up your project schedule with as many custom fields as you'd like to define. We can also have a formula-based or a lookup table associated with any of those, and we will run through actually both examples today. And then you can have some graphical indicators display. Instead of saying if my project is on track, say on track, I want you to show me a green icon to represent that. So when you're looking at task fields, a couple of the ones that we've seen in the past are ones that have to do with cost, such as whether your task is a capital expense or an operating expense. And so having a CapEx field at the task level allows you to tag the information accordingly. You can have a lookup table that has the different values. And then when you're looking at rolling up your data, you can create a filter or a view to show you, I want to see only my capital expense, and you can create the filter to show you that. There is an option also in the custom fields that will let you roll it up to the summary so you can see it's kind of like another way to slice and dice your data. Creating a task level department field, especially when you have different parts of your project in which a different group or department are responsible for, such as if you have a construction schedule and you have maybe an operations team that sets it up, and then you have an on-site team that does the work, and then you have another team that closes out the process. It may be great for you to see which part of that, which part of your schedule each group or department is responsible for. Even more granular than having your resource name. If you just want to have that field right there, then you can update that at the task level. So the two DAX formulas that we're going to be talking about today, and they are the most commonly used, is the if and the switch. So the if formula follows this logic. It presents you with a logical test, and then it says, if the value is true, I want you to show me one thing. And if not, then I want you to show me the other thing. So in our example here, our condition or logical test that our formula is looking for revolves around the number of calls. So in our example here, we had a call center and they wanted to have a formula to be able to determine when they had a high call volume. So they have a field called calls, and our formula here is telling us that if that calls number was higher than 200, I want you to return the value of yes. But if not, I want you to return a value of no. And so having this formula in there allows you to enter the number of calls and then will allow the formula to provide the rest. This is also a formula that can be used in something like Excel or any of the other platforms that you use for reporting that can use the DAX formulas for you. A switch statement is similar to an if statement in that it takes your logical statement or your condition, your expression as it's shown here, and it uses that to compare. And it says, if it's one value, I want you to return result number one. If it's another value, return another result. And so in our example here, you can see that we are looking at the month. And it's running through a series of statements. So we have a switch statement that looks at the month field. If that month shows a 1, I want you to show me the word January. If it's a number 2, I want you to show me the word February. If it's a number 3, I want you to show me the word March, and it will run through all of the different values. So with the switch statement, if a criteria is met, the formula will stop and it will return that value for you. So if you do have, for example, a number 5, the switch statement will only run through the set of criteria up to that 5, and it'll give you a May value. If you go through all of the statements and none of them have been met, at the end there is kind of a catch-all, or a value that will be returned if none of the criteria are met. And in our case, that is to show you the word unknown month number. So run through all of the statements. If none of that criteria is met, either if it's blank or if maybe you have a 100 in there for some reason, it'll run through all of that and say, does it meet any of these? So it gives you that else statement. So if month equals one of those, give me the results. Else, give me unknown month number there. So based, excuse me, so based on So based on a set of values, you can have key performance indicators display instead of the data information itself. So today we're going to go through a set of exercises. It's going to look at formulas. We're going to have a formula in there. And we're going to have a set of key performance indicators, red, yellow, green, and there are several different options that you can use, will be displayed instead of the data information. And so you can have key performance indicators set either way. You can have them be based on information that you as the user are inputting into your schedule, or you can have it be something that's based on a formula. Makes it a little bit easier, a little more automated for you. But some things are not always as cut and dry as a formula. So you may have to have some information that's manually entered that generates that indicator for you. So for different resource custom fields, these are the two examples that I see in almost every instance of somebody who uses project and uses resources. Being able to identify someone's role and then their location if you have resources that are spread out over different sites, different countries or cities, having a location field will allow you to take that information and you can report on it. This is information that's available in your resource sheet. It's available in your resource information when you do add it as a custom field at the resource level. And you can see in the example here, we have a custom field for role. And what we've identified for that is a set list or a lookup table of 4 different values that you can choose from. We have project manager, we have technical lead, analyst, and developer. And so those are the 4 that I can use to update with my resource sheet. And then the last thing we're going to touch on today is going to be about the organizer. The organizer, especially if you are sharing your project schedules from person to person, you're just putting them maybe on a shared drive or emailing them back and forth. Having the organizer and knowing how to use it is very important. In the screenshot here, over on the left-hand side, it says global.mpt. That is my personal Microsoft project templates. You can see there are several tabs. I have views, reports, tables, filters. All of that is stored in my version of project. If I have some custom filters that I've created, they will automatically be put into my global. I can use them on any projects that I have. But if I share my email with you, if I email it to you, that filter is not available in your version. And so what I need to come and do is add it to my project. I needed to add it to the right-hand side. My project in this case is named Simple Report Completed. And so I can take any of those custom views or filters, reports, anything like that that you'd like to be available for all your schedules, and I need to copy it over to the version of the project schedule. And once I do that and I share it with you, then you can open up your organizer and you can copy in any of that custom stuff with the project to be in your version of project. And so it's a very helpful way to be able to share that information across users who aren't using an enterprise type of platform like Project Online, just a local one. So now we're going to come straight into project, not too much in our PowerPoint presentation today. And we're going to look at our project schedule. So we are going to come, excuse me, up to our project tab here. And here is where we have our custom fields option, or our custom fields command. So we're going to click on that. And you can see there's several options here. There's lots of text fields you can do. And if you come to the type, there are lots of types of custom fields that you can create at the task level. You can create cost, date, duration, any of those. And all of them come with a good number of values that you can create. So you can really add a lot of information to your plan if you have that detail that you need to be able to slice and dice by. So we are going to start with creating a flag field. We're going to come up here and we're going to click on flag. And so right now our field is called flag 1, which is not particularly useful for us. So we're going to come down here and we're going to rename it. A lot of times when users want to report on things in their schedule, one of the main things that they want to do is be able to show management what's important to them. And they may know that the managers or executives may not want to see all 500 lines of your schedule. Instead, they're only interested in very key parts of it. And so what we usually recommend them to do is to create a field called management priority or something along those lines. And this will allow you to give a yes or no value to the task, and then you can use it for reporting. So we're going to rename our field to say management priority and click OK. By default, a flag field will have a yes or no lookup table attached. That's the purpose of the flag. It's just a flag yes or a flag no. And for that reason, we have the lookup table that has been disabled here, and we are going to stay with the rest of the default options here for our management priority flag. We're going to have it display data, and we're going to go ahead and click OK. So now that we have created our custom fields, we need to add it so we can use it. So we're going to right-click, click on Insert Custom Fields, and insert our management priority field. And so by default, our flag field is set to no. So we're going to come through and I'm going to set a couple of my tasks to say management does need to know about these. So I'm going to choose schedule author interview. Let's see, what else can we do here? Complete book launch form. And our coordinate articles here. So now that we've created this, the information is stored in there, and now it's just ready for us to use. So once you create your custom fields, we have different options in the View tab here. You can either do highlighting, filtering, or grouping to be able to use your custom fields to be able to view your information in different ways. So we are actually going to create a brand new filter today specifically for this management priority field. That way it's an easy way for you to filter. Show me only management priority yes, and then you can print your schedule from there and only share that information with your stakeholders. So I'm going to come to my filter up here, and I'm going to click on more filters, on new filter, excuse me. So I'm going to come up here. I'm going to create a management view. Let's create a management filter, keep our terminology the same. And so once I'm in here, there are a couple of different things I can do. This checkbox here is going to say whether I want to see the new view or filter that I'm creating on the drop-down menu when I click my drop-down option here. I do, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that checked. And here's where we enter our criteria. So we are going to look for the field of management priority. If you just start to type it in, you can see it right there. So we want to see tasks where management priority equals, and then you have your set of options here, equals yes. So this is a criteria that we want the task to meet if it's going to show up. So you have another checkbox down here that says show related summary tasks, and this will show you, in our project schedule here, we have our schedule broken out into different phases. We have a planning phase, internal launch phase, and without checking this box, all I'm going to get is a list of tasks with their detail points. But in order for it, in our case, to make sense, is I do want to show what phase it belongs to. So I'm going to go ahead and check that button there. And then I can save or I can apply. I'm going to go ahead and click apply. So it's going to do two actions in once. It's going to go ahead and save it for you. And it's also going to apply that filter. So you can see that it shows me only tasks where management priority equals yes. And it will show me the summary task because I did select that option. If I want to remove that option, click on more filters, find my management filter and edit it. And I want to deselect this box. Click save, click apply. You can see it just gives me the list of tasks. So that may be what you want. Maybe you want to see the summary task, but you do have the option to really decide to do it whatever way you'd like, whatever way makes sense for you to present your information. I like having the summary row, so I'm going to turn that back on. And so you can see all that information rolled up as well. So here are my management priority tasks. This summary task shows me roll up of only of all of my tasks, but underneath it is only the details for those ones that apply. So I'm going to clear my filter, come to filter here, say clear filter. And we're going to create another custom field at the task level. So we're going to come to the project tab here and click on custom fields. We are going to stick with a text type of field now. So we're going to leave this as text. And we're going to rename our text one here to say department, because we're going to add some different responsible departments for each of the different set of tasks that we have. So I'm going to go ahead and rename it and click OK. And if I leave my custom field as a default sets right now, it's just going to be a free-form text field. I can type in whatever I want. There is not a predefined set of values, but I would like to identify some values that I can choose from, and these are going to be the only ones that I have. So in this custom attributes, I'm going to select the dialog button, the radio button for lookup table, and then I can click on the lookup button itself to pop up the lookup table options. So I'm going to come in here. I am only going to enter 3 different departments just for the sake of time today. So I'm going to enter the marketing department, operations department, and the production department. So up here are a couple of different options that you have about moving around your set of values. If you want to copy and paste them in, you can do that. You can enter in your different values. It's just some pretty basic inserting, deleting functionality that you can always come up here and play with to see if it makes sense. You can set a default option down here if you'd like. Set a value for default. I'm going to leave mine to be just blank unless I identify it. You can display your values in a certain way. So I am going to go ahead and display mine in ascending order, which they are actually already in. But if I come in at any point and I add one here to say, maybe I want to add for advertising, it would automatically update to be in ascending order since that's what I have chosen my display order to be. And then I have a set of data entry options down here. This will allow, if you want to add in another field, if you just select the box here, that you can say, if I don't want any of these 3 options, I have another option. I just want to type it straight into the field. It will automatically update it to be a set of lookup table values. I'm going to leave that off for now, but if you do want to have that user controlled entry, you can check that box here. So now that I have finished, I'm going to go ahead and click close. Everything else here looks okay. We do want to display the data here, so I'm going to leave that checked. I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to come and insert this on the left side of my task name here. So I'm going to enter my department. It does still say text 1, then parentheses, so that project knows what to refer to that field as internally. So now that I've entered it, I do not have a default value set. So this field is blank for all of my tasks. I'm going to go ahead and update a couple of them. I'm just going to click in here and update some of our data here so we can use it when we go to look at breaking up our information based on department. What else do we want to do here? Let's do some marketing. Giving us a different sample size of our department field here, so it makes it easier for us to use it in the future. Let's make this one a marketing task. Come down to our last section here. This one's going to be marketing. I like to try and make them make sense with the task. Doesn't always work, but I at least give it a good try. All right. So now we have all of our tasks. I did leave out my milestones here. I'm only interested in updating the responsible party for tasks that have work assigned to them. You can update your milestones in a different way too. If you have a very lengthy project plan and you're only interested in identifying milestones with the group, you can do that. I only did my tasks that have actual work assigned to them. I just left my milestones alone. At least I think I did. Good. So now we're going to come and similar to a filter, we are going to create a new grouping. So I'm going to come to my view tab up here and I'm going to come to group. And so I am going to come almost all the way down at the bottom and click this new group by. And here is where I need to name it. I'm going to say I am going to call it responsible department. And similar to the filter or the highlighting, we'll have this option as well. I can choose whether or not I want to show it in the menu or if it will still be there, but it won't be quick access for you if I want to show it there. So first, I want to group it by my department name. And I want it to do it in ascending order. I'm going to go ahead and leave that. We're only going to have one set of grouping, but you can do it in a couple of different ways. For example, if you wanted to group it by department and then group it by tasks that have remaining work, you can do that. That way it can really show the hierarchy of what you're looking for. going to change my color here just to be a little bit fun today. And then down here, there is a couple of different options that are actually pretty important in determining what, when I click this group, it's going to do. So you have this show summary tasks, which is the same as filter. It's whether it's going to give you just a straight list of tasks or whether it's going to still give you that summary task that it belongs to. And then down here, you have a maintain hierarchy. So we're going to do just the show summary tasks for right now. We're going to leave maintain hierarchy off so that I can show you a little bit of the difference. And what this is going to do, I'll go ahead and click apply here and scroll up. So I first have any tasks that have no value, which we're going to go ahead and roll that up. It's not as important to me. So now it's going to show me, I have it highlighted in green here. These are all of my marketing tasks. Any task I've identified as marketing being my responsible department is going to show here. Let's see. And this will also show it to me in chronological order. So you can see my start and my finish date go all the way down. So I don't, this may make sense, may not make sense, but that is what it will show you here. So I'm going to come back up to my groups, responsible department. I'm going to click edit. And wait, I'm going to go back here. And so under that, then you can see all of the other tasks. You can see my operations task. I can see my production task. So this is really helpful if you have multiple people maintaining the same schedule. One of them may be your production manager, and he's only interested in tasks that are production related. So he can come in, he can group it, or he can filter it, and he can see only tasks that his group is responsible for. So we're going to come back to more groups. We're going to find our group and click edit. And then now we're going to check this maintain hierarchy button. And so we're going to go ahead and check that. And now we're going to click save and we're going to click apply. And now is where you can see it's going to give you basically a summarized version of your project schedule because it's going to keep your summary here and it's going to number them for you. And then it's going to give you a roll up of only those tasks that apply. So for my marketing tasks here in the planning phase, I only have 2 tasks that I'm responsible for, and it gives me a roll up of that. It says that my marketing department is responsible for 160 hours in the planning phase. It's responsible for 48 hours in the internal launch phase and responsible for 8 hours, which I may have some actual work applied in my public launch phase here. Same goes for my operating tasks here, and same goes for my production. So I'm going to go ahead and come up here to my group, and we're going to go ahead and clear the group since we no longer need it. We want to get back to our tasks list here. I'll go ahead and hide my department field and my management priority fields just to kind of clean up our look. And so now we're going to come up and we are going to add just a really basic text field. We're still going to do it at the task level since that's where we want the majority of our information to come from. So we're going to come to the project tab and custom fields. We're going to go down to text 2 this time. We're going to rename it, and I'm going to call this next steps. This is going to be a way to communicate with anybody else at the looking at my schedule. What are the next steps involved in this task? Maybe it's something more than just notes about the field. It's just something else that I'd like to be able to identify. So I'm just going to come up here and I'm going to insert it in. And since it is just a free text field, all of the rest of my options here can stay the same. I don't need a lookup table or a formula. I'll just leave it as it is. I'll go ahead and click OK. So I'm going to come and I'm going to insert it in. So here's my next step. So now I can say here, all of these are completed. Where am I at right now? So we need to say we need to fix the resource overallocation, which can be noted by the little red man on the very left, my indicators column. So here's where you can just have a text field, gives you just additional information about your tasks here. So I'm going to go ahead and hide that. And so next we are going to work on a formula. We talked about 2 different examples when we went over the PowerPoint. And now we're going to go ahead and apply some to our schedule here. So our formula is going to be looking at the task cost status. It's going to be comparing what my baseline cost was So I'm going to go ahead and pull up that field. This product has been previously baselined. I put some actuals for it, kind of messed with the schedule, so everything is not exactly as it should be. So I have a baseline cost here, and I'm going to go ahead and put in my cost. And my formula is going to be calculating what is my cost, which is my current, versus my baseline to let me know, am I over cost, am I under cost, or am I right on target? So we're going to come to our custom field section here. And this will be a task level field. So we're going to click on text 3. And I'm going to rename it. I'm going to say I want this to be cost, task, cost, status. So type that in and rename it. And now my custom attribute here is not going to be lookup table. It's going to be a formula. And you will get a dialog box here because Microsoft likes to give you all these messages just to scare you, make sure you're doing exactly what you want to do. Just letting you know if you have anything, if maybe you previously created a field like that and now you're switching it to formula. And because it's formula based, it's going to overwrite any of the other existing data that you had in there. Since we just created it, we know there's nothing in there, so we can go ahead and click OK. And I'm going to click on the formula box. So when you get here, there are a couple of things here that make it a little bit easier for you to use to build your formulas. So you have a insert here, and here is where you can insert any of the fields available in project. And there are a lot of them, so you can come through and you can see, you have a lot of these data points here. If you want to look to compare the work, you can have that do it here, which is actually another one that we highly recommend. Compare your status. What is your actual work versus your baseline work? Are you on target? Are you not? So you can come and do that here. So there is also a function button here, and here is where you can see some of the functions. There are a lot, so don't be too scared. Microsoft does have some pretty good documentation. If you were to Google, it's docs.microsoft, I think, and it will walk you through a lot of these formulas here. Oh, we don't want this guy in here. We don't want him. So clicking on the formula button here, you'll be able to see a lot of the general one in here, and that's what you want to use. So you can just kind of filter through, and it will show you that. You can also import a function, and then here it gives you some of the very basic functionality. So I have already predefined my formula, so I'm just going to copy and paste it in here and then walk through it with you. Oops, we don't want that. So we are going to use a switch formula. Our switch formula is going to walk through a series of commands. And if it meets the value, then it's going to give me the output from that. So my formula here is comparing my baseline costs to my cost. So right here, I'm saying if any of my tasks are not baselined, then I want you to give me a value of no baseline. And I do actually have a task in here that I inserted after I set my baseline. So there is no value for that. The baseline finish for that would be NA to indicate there's no baseline set for that task. So now I'm going to be comparing and adding these plus ones and minus ones are really just so that it can calculate to be a percentage for me. So I am going to look at my actual cost divided by my baseline cost. And that is what the rest of my series of expressions are going to be, to show me. So it's going to say if we do the comparison of cost to baseline cost, and that is over 15%, then I want you to give me an output of greater than over 15% over baseline. If I compare my cost to my baseline cost and it is greater than a 1.05 in calculations, I want you to give me a result of between 5 and 15% over baseline. Because again, if the switch formula meets the first criteria, then it's going to stop evaluating. So if my comparison, my baseline cost shows that it's, for example, 10% over baseline, it doesn't meet this first criteria because it does have a baseline. It doesn't meet the second criteria because it is not 15% over, it's only 10. So it's going to go to this next set of criteria here and tell me it does fit in this bucket because it's 10%. So it's going to stop here. Our next set of criteria compares them, and it says if it is less than 0.85, that means it is greater than 15% under our baseline. So this is going to be our output. Then it's going to compare cost and baseline cost, and it is going to say if it is under 0.95, then that is between 5 and 15% under baseline. And then this last statement here is my catch-all. If it doesn't meet any of the other criteria, then we are going to say that it's within the 5% of baseline that I have set. So I am going to, I'm trying to get this formula in a place where I can share it with you. Let's pull up a notepad here. Let's go ahead and paste my formula there. So that way, if you'd like to take a quick screenshot, you're welcome to do that. So you can get the whole formula in one place. Move it down for a second. And so you can see in my formula bar up here that it already gives me that equal sign. It says task cost status equals, and then it does my formula here. So I don't need to put an equals in front of this. It should be all ready to go now. So go ahead and click OK. And again, it's going to remind me if I have any data in that field already, it's going to remove it. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. It accepted my formula, which if it doesn't, it will let you know. It will say you have a syntax error, you have an error in your formula. It will give you a little bit of information about what the issue is so that you can go back and revise it and try it again. And getting familiar with DAX formulas is definitely a trial and error situation. So if you're patient, it's very rewarding. So go ahead and click OK. So you click OK, and behind the scenes, project is calculating your project for you. It's doing the formula, but you can't see that. So we're going to insert in our new fields for task cost status. And so now we can see the value. We did just have it show us the data. So it went through and it evaluated all of our different statements using our switch formula, and it provided an output for all of these for me. So you can see I have kind of a varying degree of what's going on my schedule here. This one's under baseline. I have some that are over baseline, but most of mine are within 5% baseline. So this was great information for me. The formula is working. It's calculating as it should, and it's giving me that output. But what I really want to be able to see is a quick red, yellow, green. Am I on track or am I not on track? So we're going to come back to our custom fields here. And instead of this value to display being data, which is what it's doing, it's giving me exactly what I want to do a graphical indicator. So I'm going to click on the radio button and click on graphical indicators. And here is where I will define what I want each indicator to show me. So here's our test. So if it equals no baseline, then I want you to show me a white circle. That's kind of my default for there's nothing there. So I have these already pre-typed out because sometimes I accidentally mess up in typing them. Oh, it's not going to let me do it. So we're going to type it out. So hopefully we don't make any typing errors here. So we're going to say if it is greater than 15% over baseline, then I want you to show me red because that means that we are not doing what we're supposed to do. So if it is equal to 5% and 15% over baseline. Whoopsies. You have to make sure you get your spaces right too, because it will say you have two spaces and you only need to have one, so it doesn't match. So I want to make sure I type very carefully here. So here we're going to say if it's greater than 15% under baseline, then I want you to give me a red line. So I do have a lot of different criteria here that gives me a range of how far over or under I am. You can just do a very simple, if it's over, it's red, it doesn't matter how far over it is. Or you can keep it within a range so that you know how far off track am I, because if it's yellow, sometimes it's recoverable, sometimes not. So how granular you get with your formulas is really just dependent on your organization and what you're looking for. All right, so now we're on our last equation. So wish me luck. I hope I typed all of these incorrectly. Let's do one last review here. Everything looks good so far. So for right now, we're going to leave the settings as default. We're going to say we're only going to go for non-summary rows. Any of my summary tasks, I want you to apply these KPIs, these graphical indicators for. We can come back and check those, but first we're going to leave it as defaults. And then this checkbox down here says that if you hover over the graphical indicator, it'll show you what that means. What does a red mean? What does a yellow mean? So we're going to go ahead and click OK. Click OK. All right. And so now we have turned our formula and those values into graphical indicators. So you can see I have a couple of different values here. And if I do hover over, you can see this one means it's within 5% of baseline. This one is greater than 15% under baseline. These ones are over baseline. And then I do have this one milestone here that doesn't have baseline. It was not originally in my project schedule when I did this. So the formulas will also work very dynamically. So if I make a change, it will automatically update my formula, my output, and also my graphical indicator. So we're going to look at our schedule author interviews task right here, and I am going to change this cost to be $1,500. So you can see instantly, as soon as I hit enter, I now have it is now under baseline within my 5 to 15% range that I have set for it. So let's update another one. I'm going to come down here. I get to our next task here, design and order marketing materials. And I'm going to update that cost to be $11,000. So as soon as I do that, it changes instantly. Sometimes it does not change. And what you'll have to do is you'll come up to this project ribbon and click on this calculate button. And it does just, as it says here, it will just calculate it, do a forwards and backward pass, and it will update from there. Although almost always it'll automatically calculate for you as you go through. So we are going to come back to our custom fields here. We're going to come to this task cost status as we did before. Click on our button here, and now we are going to roll this up. We want to see, we look at a task level, we see individually by task which ones are over baseline, which ones are under, but what I can't see is as a whole for the planning phase, is it over or under? So I'm going to click on just my summary rows here. Oh, I have to redefine my criteria. So you can come and do it here. I'm not going to put you through me re-entering all of my values here. So you can come in here and do summary rows, and it will do this as well, or you can click you can have them inherit, and that looks like it brings it in. I'm going to have to re-enter my data here. But you do have a couple of other options here if you are looking to inherit and show your summary level to kind of have those indicators roll up to a higher level of your plan. So I'm going to go ahead and hide our task status here. So now we're going to look at entering a resource level custom field. So we're still on our task ribbon. We're going to come to custom fields, only this time we're going to change the radio button. So we are looking at resource information. So I'm going to rename this one, and I am going to look to identify a role for each of the resources in my resource sheet and on my project. That way I can see in a reporting level where my project managers have remaining work, where do my technical leads, which is what I'm going to enter here. So I've renamed my text field to say role, and I am going to click on my lookup radio button, click on lookup, and here is where I'm going to enter the set of values that I want to display. So I'm going to say, I want to have project manager be a value here. I want technical lead, analyst, developer. I'm choosing some of the very most broad and most generic kinds of roles that you may want to use. So now that I've entered them all here, I can again choose my display order. Do I want it to be exactly by row number that I've had? Do I want it to be in alphabetical or in backwards order? And then my data option entry here is if I want to be able to type in a value, it'll automatically add it. I'm just going to leave these settings as defaults for now, but you can come and you can always play with those. So any of the resource information does need to be done on the resource sheet here. So I can either add in a column here for role, and by default it's blank. There's nothing here, but I can come and I can update just by looking at the drop down. I can use it like Excel if I have several in a row that I need to update. I want to update all these to be technical leads. I want to update these to be analysts. And I can also go, no, we don't want printing service. We want Robin Wood. So we're going to click on here, and there is a tab for custom fields. So we're going to click on that, and any of the custom fields you've identified at the resource level will display here. So you can come and you can set it to be here as well if you'd like. So I'm going to click on it, and it'll it'll populate there. So let's update a couple more. What's our last one here? Developer. Let's have a couple of developers. Putting it in, it's not working. Developers. So now that we've updated that, we have just an additional piece of information. If we're looking to do resourcing, we want to see, at a higher level than just a named person. If we want to look at where all of our technical leads are, where the remaining work is, then now we have an additional piece of information. And as I think I've mentioned in almost all of our webinars here, the more you give project in terms of data, the more you get back. And that's also true when it comes to custom fields. It's true for tracking actuals. If you give your project only one piece of information, you're going to have to give it more than that to be able to get an output of what you want. So now that we have our roles identified, we are going to look at one of our resource reports. So I'm going to click on the reporting tab, click on the resources dropdown, and we're going to click on our resource overview. Oops, I forgot to do something first. So we're going to go back. We're going to come to our resource sheet here. And we're going to come to view, and in order for me to use, one of the easiest ways I have found to use the new custom fields that you created in reporting is to create, similar to how we did a filter and a grouping, is to create one of those for this as well. So I'm going to create a new group. I'm going to click on new group by here, and I'm going to call it, project role. And so I'm going to say I want to group it by role. And I want to group it ascending, and I can just leave the other data points. Don't need to change the color on this one. Don't need as much flare. So now I have this group, and I can use it in different places. So I have it grouped here. So now I'm going to come back to my reporting tab at the top. I'm going to click on my resourcing ribbon, on the drop down, and click on resource overview. So this is one of the out-of-the-box reports. We had a whole webinar on reporting a week or so ago, and as you know, if you click on each of the different pieces, you can see a whole new pane when it opens up here with a fields list that shows you what fields are being displayed right now, and you are able to customize it, show some different data points. So we're going to look at this work status right here. So we're going to come over here, and down here is a group by. Right now, it is just showing me all of my resources, all my work resources, that is, and it's showing me the percent work done for all of those. So I'm going to come to my group by here, and now I have my project role grouping, which I just created, and I can click and apply, and now it will break down my information in a different way. It'll show me for anybody who's an analyst, what percent work done is it? So I can see my project managers have not even completed 20% of their work, whereas my analysts are 100% work complete. So just a little bit of different information if you are looking to break up your information in a different way. So we're going to take a look at the organizer. And as I mentioned, the organizer is what allows you to share project files back and forth and allow other users to have the same custom views or filters or groupings or reports or anything that you have specifically defined, such as if I define to this as a report, I save this report as a brand new resource report, and it's automatically going to be saved in your version of project. But if I pass it to somebody else, it's not going to be in their version. They can see it in that one project schedule because it's being moved with that schedule. But if they create a brand new schedule, it will not have that report in it because it's not saved in their global. So I'm going to come to the file ribbon and come to info here. And here is a section for using your organizer. So I'm going to click this up here. And here's where you can see what is in your version of project and your MPT, I think MPT is Microsoft Project Template. So this is in my global. And then over here on the right-hand side is what is in this schedule that I currently have opened up. So I can use either one right now, but if I pass this to somebody else, they're not going to have some of the custom ones I've created. So we created a custom filter. And so we can see that I did save my management filter with that schedule. So it will be available if I pass it to somebody else. And over here, you'll also see that it is have two of them. I may have done this before. And so now it's in both places. So management filter, it's going to go with the report if I pass it, and it's also going to stay in my version of project. But for example, if somebody passes you a schedule, you should come in here because you may be able to get some of their views or filters to see if there's anything else that you would like to be able to see from that. And so to move pieces of information from one place to another, you can just highlight it and you click this copy button and it'll move from one place to the next. If you want to move a view from a report to your global, then you can just change these filters down here at the bottom, and then it works because it does work in a left to right kind of motion here. Make sure you check the resources as well, because by default it does have task and resources for most of your different tabs up here, since you do have that different information. So, so you can work through your organizer to see what you want to become a part of your global or what you want to stay with your project schedule here. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of here. So that is the end of our webinar today. I hope you've gotten a real good understanding of custom fields and how to use it. And maybe you grabbed a screenshot of the switch formula we used for evaluating cost. You can replace some of that information with work or with duration if you're more interested in capturing those data points. We will be having some more upcoming webinars that have not yet been posted to our account. We have a couple for best steps for scheduling success. And then here is our website. You can come and here's where you can see all of our events upcoming. Here's where you can view all of our previous webinars, including the however many other sections we had in this webinar series. And then there is my email address. If you're working through custom fields and you have a question or any other aspect of project, just send me an email and I'd be happy to help. So have a great day, guys.